Just one note. The following footage was genuinely captured as I was figuring out this strategy. As such, it isn't quite as concise or as structured as some of the other lessons. However, I have trimmed it down and fast-forwarded through any tedious sections to make it as engaging as possible. Additionally, this lesson has been split into 3 manageable sections. Strategy concept. To begin creating this strategy, I'm just going to look at the chart and keep my eye out for any repeating patterns. I want to focus in on a fairly simple strategy, so I'm going to look for something that follows the trend and relies on a basic candlestick pattern. I'm also going to load up my strategy outline template so I can start taking notes right away. Considering the scale of world events that happened between 2020 and 2022, I'm going to use charts from 2018 and 19 just to rule out these anomalies. That's not to say our strategies wouldn't work during these times, but I don't want to be creating a strategy that relies on the massive market shifts of a global pandemic. Looking at charts now, in order to get to 2018, I'm going to use this little button down here, which is a calendar with an arrow on it. If we click on there, I get a date I can choose to go to. So I'm going to say 2018, 0101, and if I hit go to, we can see this candle in the middle here is the start of 2018. Okay, I'm going to use the 4-hour chart. I quite like the 4-hour chart, so I'm going to base my strategy on that. And I'm also going to use my default set of indicators. I saved them as a favorite. So if I click here, we get the EMA 20, the EMA 50, the RSI, and the ATR. I might change those a little bit. I might just set those to be 12. I quite like using 12s at the moment. There we are, 12 and 12, 20 and 50. Okay, my 20 EMA is the orange line. My 50 EMA is this blue line here. And so I'm just going to start looking at the chart and trying to observe any patterns, seeing what I can see. Let's have a look around. Going back to the start of 2018, I'm actually finding quite a bit of interest in this point between the two EMAs. So we're using an EMA 20 and an EMA 50. I'm actually going to add one more indicator. So I'm going to add moving average, which looks like has just received an update as well, which is quite cool. So it looks like they've added a smoothing line, another moving average to the moving average. So we're just going to use one for now. I'm going to color that purple so it's got a very distinct color from the other two. And while that defaults at 9, I'm going to set it right in the middle of the two others. So halfway between 20 and 50 is 35. Okay, now with that on, I can turn off my 20 and my 50. So I've got a nice clean chart with just one EMA. And we can see this is showing quite a good respectable trend here. It's respecting this 35 EMA quite well. And when it breaks the other side, it actually comes back to it and respects it as well. So now that I've found this reaction to the 35, I'm going to base my strategy on trading bounces off the 35 EMA. So if I go across to my strategy outline, I know that I'm going to be trading the 4-hour time frame. I might as well call this one 35 bounce, since I'm going to be looking at the bounces from the 35. No risk ratio and win rate yet because we haven't done our testing on this strategy. This is actually just a concept. So under status, I'm going to put concept. The chart indicators I'm going to be using it's the 35 EMA. I'm going to be using a 12 RSI and a 12 ATR. The defaults on those are 14. I just like 12 because of the way it divides into all the other days, actually. Trade setup. So I don't have distinct rules for this yet, but for now I'm just going to put 35 bounce as my clue that I can expand on shortly. I'm now going to look over the chart and I'm actually going to mark out a lot of the areas of interest so I can see if I can find some kind of repeating patterns or some kind of indicator that it's going to actually bounce off this. So I'm going to go to my square tool and I'm actually going to put the drawing tool lock on. And what that means is when I draw one square, instead of going back to the cursor, it's actually going to allow me to draw square after square without having to constantly click on it. So we've got a break and a bounce of the 35 here. So I'm going to outline that. I'm going to outline this one. There's one here actually, because I'm counting wicks as a break. There's another wick here. We get another light bit of the body here. We get another one here. We We've got quite a few of them, so I'm really going to have to figure out exactly what my entry reason will be. We have an interesting area where it breaks and kind of jumps around it. We have another one here. So you can see here I've marked out all the points where I've got an interest in what it's doing around the 35. This is not every place that it breaks the 35, it's more that it's interacted with it. So it's either broken and hovered around it for a while, or it's bounced straight off it, which is what I'm looking for. So with those two, I'll be able to distinguish if there's a pattern that's happening every time it bounces, or if it's kind of random. So I'm going to go through and review these a little bit more. Just bear with me while I figure out what might be going on. And that's part one complete. Next, we'll be defining our trade entry.